Hi, my name is Knott, and I am the C-Campus Program Coordinator here at UMASS. And today I'll be speaking with you about the various supports that we offer through student-parent programs to our parenting students, and telling you a little bit more about the C-Campus Child Care Subsidy Program. In student-parent programs, we recognize that being a student-parent presents its own unique set of challenges. Our goal is really to support our parenting students as you pursue your educational goals. We're located at 103 Bartlett Hall in the Off-Campus Student Center, but we're currently working remotely with students, so you can always email us at studentparent@umass.edu. You can also give the main number a call, 413-577-1005. I'll put it in the chat, the information in the chat. When it's safe to be back on campus, we'd love you to come and visit us. You can see in the picture here that we have a child-friendly space. So if you have your kids on campus, if you're meeting with an advisor or a faculty member, you can always drop by. We've got toys and games, and we really try to welcome our student families to campus. It's nice for kids to get to see where their parents spend so much of their time. So with student-parent programs, what exactly do? We really work to support student parents in a number of different ways by providing funding for childcare subsidies for income-eligible student parents through our C-Campus and our student parent program subsidy programs. We support student parents by advocating for family-friendly policies and practices on campus. We also work at facilitating access to university and community resources information, whether that's public benefits that will be helpful to student parents, or finding childcare, any kind of resources that will support you in your journey here at UMass. We also create events and programming specifically for student-parent families, really to build social connection among other parenting students, to reduce some of the isolation that results as a parent and a student, and to promote connection to campus resources, and really foster a supportive experience for students and their families. Right now, I said we're working remotely, so our events and programming will be online at least through fall, but we imagine through this program year. But we'll tell you more information about that through our newsletters, and on our website you'll have access to that information. So how do you apply for a child care subsidy here at UMass or through student parent programs? Our applications for our subsidies, which is different from other child care subsidies here on campus, are through the UMass Academic Works portal. So our webpage, umass.edu/student-parents, has the links to the Academic Works application as well as our child care subsidy application. Information, specific instructions can be found on our webpage. We review applications monthly. Once your eligibility is confirmed, I'm the C-Campus Program Coordinator, so I would reach out, discuss your needs, options for funding. If you're eligible for C-Campus, you might also be eligible to receive other subsidies through student parent programs. C-Campus, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this in a moment, is a Department of Education funded program, and it has very specific requirements about what type of childcare it will fund. But we have additional funds in student parent programs to help round that out, because we recognize that this is going to be a really difficult year for finding childcare. And daycare spots are limited, so we've expanded our eligibility criteria. All of that information can be found on our webpage. So what is C-Campus? I mentioned it's a Department of Education funded program. It stands for Child Care Access Means Parents in School. We award funding to eligible undergraduate and graduate student parents, to subsidize the cost for eligible daycare, before and after school programs, school vacation care, some summer child care expenses. C-Campus cannot pay for family, friends, and neighbors or babysitting care, but we have other funds to supplement some of those gaps in childcare funding through student parent programs. It's one application to access any of our funds. We'll work with you to find what's going to be the best path for funding your childcare needs this year. C-Campus offers more than just a subsidy. While we do provide subsidy, and we recognize that's the biggest benefit for student parents, we also help to support student parents, whether that's finding services for your child or for your family, whether that's negotiating with financial aid, whether that's accessing public benefits. We're a wonderful resource for student parent families above and beyond subsidies. And the goal of C Campus is really to support you, and the goal of student parent programs is really to support you in your educational journey here, whether that's by removing the burden of the cost of childcare, providing social connections, or really just giving you the kind of support that you need and access to resources to get through challenging times. So how does it work? As part of your acceptance into the C Campus program, we work to arrange direct payments to your child care provider. Your child care provider will bill UMass monthly and will bill you for any remaining fees. In some circumstances, payments can be made as a reimbursement to you via your bursar account. C Campus has a few requirements as part of our grant. That information will be discussed with you in advance. There's some a survey completed every year, some participation requirements, but we try to make it as easy as possible for student parents to participate. We recognize that the thing you have least of is time. So we try to make it as easy as possible. Should you ever have any problems, if you're receiving a subsidy in meeting the requirements, we work with students closely to make sure that you can continue. C Campus can cover up to 90% of eligible childcare costs up to our annual cap. That cap can change year to year depending on the number of students applying and our availability of funds, but generally it's about $7,000 per year for a full-time load status student with one child in daycare. With more than one child in eligible childcare, it's $8,000 per year. And for a family with more than one child in daycare, it can be up to $9,000 for our annual cap. Student parent programs were really committed to removing the barriers to success for student parents. We're really here to help you focus on your goals. And so our commitment to you is to provide funding to eligible students to help make the cost of childcare more affordable, to create opportunities for you and your children to connect with other student parent families, to advocate for student parents to create a more family-friendly campus here at UMass, and to make it easier for you to access the various supports and resources, both here at UMass and in the surrounding communities. So I encourage you to please check out our website. There it is, umass.edu/student-parents. There's a link where you can have your email address added to our mailing list so you can receive our monthly newsletter, information about any events, opportunities. We have a Facebook page, so you'll find out that information on our web page, and there we'll make announcements. It's a nice opportunity to connect with other student parents. And really, we're here for you. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Even if it's not about a child care subsidy, if it's anything that would be helpful to you as a student parent, please reach out. If we don't have the information, we can find it.
Thank you, Kara.
Yeah.
I do want to know, so there's 3 different types of fundings. So Kara talked about one type of funding, and now Mariam's going to talk about another type of funding.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Mariam Rashid. I am the Vice President for the Graduate Student Senate. And thank you, Kara, for that informative piece of information. So I will share what the GSS funding looks like. So we have 2.
Before you share, do you mind if we ask this question and answer it, since it's related to C Campus fund? What are the eligibility requirements, and are you allowing international student parents to apply?
Yes. Oh, thank you for asking that. Yes. In last year, we were not able to accept applications from international students, but we are able to accept applications from international students this year. So you would fill out an application. We have to verify financial income eligibility. So it's a little bit of a different process, but I'll work with international student applicants on verifying income eligibility. So for our C Campus funding, income eligibility is similar to a Pell Grant. Obviously, graduate students don't receive a Pell Grant, but it's simply the same income eligibility. So if you would be eligible based on your income and family composition for a Pell Grant, then you meet the income eligibility criteria for C Campus. The other eligibility criteria for C Campus is about being an active student. So you have to have at least a part-time load designated Inspire. So I know for graduate students, sometimes departments don't update that regularly. So if you apply and I see it looks like maybe your load wouldn't qualify, I reach out to all the applicants and say, you know, if you are full-time, we can work with your department on making sure it's coded correctly. So that's really it. We have most of our funding goes to undergraduate students through C-Campus, but we do make sure that we reserve a section to support graduate students. So did that cover we have some requirements for our grant. So once you are a participant, you would sign a participation agreement and simply agree to stay in touch. Like I said, fill out a survey once a year, maintain good academic standing. But there's a lot of flexibility in that, and certainly as graduate students, it's really determined by your department. And that's really it for eligibility. Oh, with childcare, C-Campus only funds, like I said, licensed childcare. But we can work with you when you fill out an application. We recognize that there's going to be, this is an unusual year, and so we're trying to pull in other funding to supplement the lack of available licensed childcare right now. But again, there's more information on our webpage about that and how we're doing that and what that means.
Thank you. I don't think any of you three would know the answer to this question, but I'll also ask just in case. There are some parents who are on the waiting list for childcare at CEC. Do anyone happen to know how long the wait list is?
I don't.
I don't know, and when I've inquired in the past, I'm told that it's really variable. So it depends on, sometimes parents decide that they're not coming back, or they've accepted a space in another childcare center. So it's always worth getting on a wait list. For some people, that wait has been a year, and for others, it's been a few months. So it really is hard to estimate. Even when we ask, they can't even really estimate, because it depends on decisions of all of the parents that they have on their list.
Thank you. All right, so now officially we'll pass it off to Mariam.
Thank you, Tita. So hi, everyone. The GSS has currently 3 funding streams. So one is the graduate student, funded by the graduate student tax, basically a little bit of money that graduate students pay. So there's a part of that money that support graduate student parents to pay childcare, or basically to reimburse for childcare expenses. And then we have another stream that comes from the student affairs and campus life. It's not a lot of money. It's about $15,000 every semester. So that's basically $30,000. And then we have a one-time funding stream for North Village residents. That's about $20,000. So the Graduate Student Senate right now has 3 funding streams. We have the GSS funding stream, that's about $40,000 a year. We have Circle, $30,000 a year. And then we have North Village funding stream just for the fall, which is $20,000 a year. And I will start with the one for North Village. So this funding stream is coming out of the Chancellor's office, and it's specifically for North Village residents to support them during this difficult time when they had to move away from their homes and relocate. And we haven't yet figured out the criteria to use to distribute this money. But how we are going to do, what we're going to do right now is come up with an ad hoc committee. So the ad hoc committee consists of the GSS leadership team and 2 parents from North Village. So basically, we will sit with the parents from North Village and kind of come up with a criteria and decide how that money should be distributed to North Village families. But we are looking at a situation where at least each family with a child should be able to get something. We don't know the numbers yet. We don't know how many parents are in North Village. We don't know how many children are there. But we want to try to be as equitable as possible to ensure that at least each family is guaranteed some amount of money. And then usually when we distribute funds from our circle and any money that comes directly from the university, previously they've required that we have to ensure that the children are sent to licensed childcare. We've negotiated with the administration in the past month, and right now, as it is, it's not official in document in some formal writing yet, but we've been assured that we can distribute this money without necessarily requiring licensed childcare. So that means that the money will go to students in terms of some form of scholarship or wherever that is. So we will send that information once we get official notification from the administrators that we're working with. And then for the Graduate Student Senate tax that basically funds the GSS childcare subsidy. So what happens is that we follow the federal poverty guideline. I know it's not the best way to do it. GSS has been working to figure out a way to ensure that, because sometimes, graduate students have student loans that they're paying off, the housing is expensive and whatnot. So we've been working to figure out a way to kind of not really stick with the federal poverty guideline, but figure out a way where somebody who really needs the money can be given. So we are working on that, and hopefully information will be sent out soon. So how this funding stream works is that we send out information, we send out an email to all graduate students in October, the first week of October. Sorry, this comes late. I know people need finances right now, but that's kind of how it's been done. To change that system, we'll have to go back to the Senate to decide and kind of come up with a resolution. But for now, we will send out an email sometime the first week of October to all graduate students. And then we will give you the links and the requirements, and you will apply directly. So once you apply, we will require your recent tax returns documents, birth certificates for the children. Everything that we get is usually very confidential, and then we will process that money. Once you're eligible and you get whatever amount that you're supposed to get, we will get back to you, and the money, you will receive it through your BASA account. And we are working really hard this year to ensure that whatever reimbursement you get is not eaten by your BASA bill. So that's something that we are also working on to ensure that you get your money.
So the Health and Welfare Trust Fund is a mechanism that was established in the GEO contract to fund benefits for grad students, and childcare is one of those benefits. And there are a couple of ways that we fund childcare. One, we fund the subsidized slots at CEC, which right now there's a little uncertainty about whether those slots can be accessed right now, and we're trying to figure out what's happening, but I don't have any clear answers, like we said earlier, yet. But we do spend about $35,000 to $45,000 a year on that subsidy for all the parents who meet the income eligibility guidelines to either be at $1 an hour or $2 an hour. We pay that $1 or $2 an hour for their care so that they aren't billed for it. The other kind of larger pot of money that more people have access to is the child care reimbursement. And there are a lot of changes for this year that we've made to make it more suitable to our current environment. So I'm going to talk about those changes, and I'll show you exactly how to enroll and a couple of documents that will help you understand where you'll fall on the in the income guidelines. So I'm going to share my screen and just show you our website first. So the childcare, am I showing our website right now? Okay. The childcare application is part of our regular benefits application. You'll go up to the enrollment portal, and I'm on UAW-UMASS-trustfund.org. You'll click on that, and that will take you to the grad employee application, which is on the left, highlighted in blue. Once you send yourself a secure email link, after you click on this link, you'll be taken to the application. You'll put in all of your basic information, your name, your date of birth, your address, and then you'll have a list of options for benefits: the dental plan, the vision plan, the wellness reimbursement, and then the child care reimbursement. Under the child care reimbursement, that section looks different on our website this year because of the changes we've made. So it will ask you for a couple of things. It will ask you for your family size, the number of children that you have, whether they are preschool or school aged, or whether you have multiple children who fall into both categories, and what kind of care you envision using this year. So that question is not ironclad. We understand that that will change possibly, but it's just your best guess right now. And it gives you a list of options for the kind of care that we consider eligible. So I'm going to just take you to that list. All right, I'm just highlighting the list right here. So we've always considered licensed daycare in a group or center as eligible. Licensed daycare for infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. That is nothing new. And we've also always considered after school and before school care as eligible. We've always considered summer camp eligible. And sort of newer to the list of items that we consider eligible are organizational or center-based extracurricular activities. So examples would include music lessons at a organized center that provides them, not private piano lessons with an individual, or art classes at a center or program that provides them. New for this post-coronavirus environment is family, friends, and neighbor informal care. So that is defined as someone who is not in your immediate family, who is caring for your child and to whom you are paying for that care. And we now consider that an eligible source of childcare, and it will be part of the list that you can opt into when you fill out the childcare application. We are still working out exactly what documentation you'll need to provide. We want it to be as simple as possible, but think of it as a receipt that is similar to the receipts you've always submitted from your childcare providers. So what we're looking for is what period was the care for, who provided it, and how much was paid. Something as simple as that. And once we receive your documents and start to see what they look like, we'll probably have a better sense of spelling out these guidelines, but we'll always give you a chance to submit something further if what you've given us at first needs more explanation. And then also new this year, we will accept receipts for tutoring, homework assistance, and online instructional programming. So for example, this week we've provided some classes through OutSchool. That's obviously not the only provider of virtual programming for kids, but if you're accessing remote educational programming or tutoring or homework assistance, we will consider that as eligible. And we also plan to provide some of that in an organized group way during the semester. So we're looking at an OutSchool math tutoring, like weekly class that parents could sign up for, because that was on our parent survey as something that parents were having a tough time with supporting at home, and I get it. Most of us have not done elementary school or middle school math in a really long time. So we're looking at trying to support that in some way. So how does the application work in terms of documents that you need to provide? I touched on that a little bit for family, friends, and neighbor care, but basically we ask for two things. We ask for the page of your last income tax return, federal return, that has your adjusted gross income listed. And if you are a two-parent household that files taxes separately, we need both pages from both returns. We also need your receipts, and that's it. And then what we do is we look at the state financial assistance parent co-payment table. So it's a tiny chart, and I can provide this to anyone by email after the session. It's also on our website. But what you do is you find your monthly income. So I'm going to take an example of a family of two, and let's say my monthly income range is between $1,096 and $1,219, and we scroll all the way over to the right hand side of the page to the fee level column, And that will put you in level 3. So if we go back to where we started, this was the income range, and we're at level 3. So we rank all applicants by family size and income. And sorry, we work our way up the list from the lowest income to the highest income, providing the largest percentage reimbursement that we can with the budget that we have available. Our budget is $115,000 annually, although we usually approve overages to that. So we're usually in the area of 120 to 130. And we strive to make sure that everyone in the levels 1 through 11 get the highest reimbursement, and hopefully between 80 and 100%. And that does typically bear out to be true. I have a slide that I want to show that, bear with me for 1 second, that shows past reimbursements, which is always a question that folks have for us. And the most basic answer is that we can't guarantee what your reimbursement is, because we don't know how many people will apply in a given period and what their childcare costs will be, and how they will fall in the income rankings. However, we do know that we can compare you to past applicants, and if you email us and tell us what your family size is and what your monthly income is, we can tell you exactly what someone similarly situated would have received in the past, and that is a really helpful guideline. So hopefully you'll see here past reimbursement levels. So we should have some updated data coming out soon, but this is for fall 18, spring 19, and summer 19. And so if we take the example of my family is level 3 that I did earlier on the chart, what you'll see is that in fall, families in level 3 got 75% of their costs reimbursed. In spring, they got 55% of their costs reimbursed. And in summer, they got 100% of their costs reimbursed. I will tell you that those numbers are improving in the more recent data, because we added funds to this benefit. So the 75% is inordinately low in spring 2019, and I think you'll see higher numbers going forward. A couple of sort of nuances to this is that we do look at all of your childcare funding from other sources. So if you have been funded by GSS or by C Campus for the same period that you're applying for benefits from us for, we do reduce your reported costs by the amount that you received, and then go forward from there and reimburse any percentage that's left. And I think that's basically what I wanted to say, but I'm sure there are tons of questions for everybody, and maybe we should just open it back up.
Yes. So the first question is, will there be any childcare option for grad students who are full-time but not employed on campus this fall?
Well, obviously for GEO is unable to only offers childcare funding for GEO eligible positions. So you have to be in a GEO eligible position to be eligible for that subsidy. But both GSS and student parent programs, subsidy programs, can support graduate students regardless of employment.
Does not file, I'm assuming, tax return because he didn't have a free card last year.
So if there isn't a tax return, we'll work with you. We have an alternative document that you can complete that details your income for that period. If there is no income, which there often is not if the spouse is an international student, we also have a way to document that for you. So we understand that that's a possibility.
Whether the trust fund will support any out-of-school course, because it has a lot of courses in the out-school, whether we can use any of them and can apply for this funding?
Yeah, we're not going through and questioning your choices in OutSchool. You can access whatever content you feel is helpful to your child. I can't guarantee that it will be reimbursed in terms of where you fall on the income scale versus our budget, but that will, your choices of classes will not exclude those from being eligible.
After applying, how do we submit receipts on your platform? And I'm assuming we're talking about the UAW Health and Welfare Trust Fund.
Sure. So the application that I described earlier will just ask you some questions about your childcare, and then on your dashboard, there's a separate link that says childcare receipts, where you can upload your receipts in PDF form. You're going to return there during each cycle of reimbursement. So right now we're accepting receipts from summer because we're always behind a period. So in August, September, we get summer receipts. In January 21, we'll take fall receipts. And in June 21, we'll take spring receipts. So you can always return to that dashboard and upload your receipts.
And this question is really, I guess, to all three of you. How often should the person submit their documents?
Yeah, I think for the GSS with each application, and everything else is embedded in the system. So for the fall, you'll submit your documents for the fall. And then the spring semester, the same thing. But everything else is in the system. You don't have to, if you have to drop, right now you can't drop off anything at the office, but everything should be done within the system.
I will say our program in student parent programs is a little different in that you apply to receive a subsidy, estimate what your costs for the coming year will be for childcare, and then we approve, if you are eligible, you meet our criteria, and we approve you based on we have a subsidy amount, so an amount that we approve you for, and that's the cap. If you don't use all of that, obviously, that's fine. Maybe you'll decide to use more of it next summer, or that's something that we can have a conversation about. So it's really just submitting the information in your online application through Academic Works, and then we arrange billing with your child care provider. We set that up with them, and so they invoice us every month, so you don't have to do any of that. For some students whose child care provider will not do the invoicing, we're able to reimburse students directly, and then we can work with students on how often works for you, whether that's once a month, whatever you need to be able to work that out. So it's a little different for our program.
We've tried to make our application a little bit smarter this year to only ask for your most recent tax return once. So hopefully when you access it, if you've already submitted your 19 return in the past, it won't ask you for it again until it becomes possible for you to have a 2021. And then also, if this is a confusion that often takes place, and it's totally understandable. Right now, it's weird that we're taking summer receipts when you're applying for fall benefits. So right now, the new system will anticipate what you're trying to do, ask you whether your receipts are for summer or fall, and route them accordingly. So it won't just reject you, and it won't just let you submit them and then we have to say, no, we can't take them. It'll take them and put them in the right place this year. So.
How do you show your family size?
So we have you report family size to us, and then we look at your tax returns. And if it doesn't match, we'll ask you follow-up questions. So sometimes your dependents won't yet be listed on your tax return because you just had a new baby. And we'll just ask you for the birth certificate or for other documentation so we can make your family size correct. If there's another issue, you just will have to touch base with us and we'll work with you to figure it out. But that's how we do it, by self-reporting and then follow up on the tax return.
So for our program, we mostly do eligibility through financial aid services here at UMass. So if you filled out a FAFSA, It's really more about your Pell eligibility, since the majority of our funding comes through the Department of Education funded grant. So regardless of your family composition will impact your Pell eligibility. So as long as you meet Pell eligibility, your family composition is less relevant. For international students, we'll be calculating that sort of by hand in our office. So we'll work with you on what documentation to provide.
What happens if our combined family income changes throughout the year?
So I can say for us, which it does happen, a common occurrence is that new grad students coming in right now will have come from jobs making more money. So their 2019 tax return will say an overinflated sense of what they're making. So we have a safety valve for that. So once you have your 2020 taxes, if there's significant change between your 19 and your 20 income, we'll go back and look at your application again. You do have to ask us to, because we won't know that. And we'll provide retroactive reimbursements to bring you to where you would have been had we had your 2020 return at that time. So, and we have done that a few times for folks who alert us to that change of income.
For our program, because we rely on the FAFSA, it's the year prior. So that can be difficult for graduate students because, as Leslie mentioned, you may have been employed full-time, left full-time employment to go back to school. So we always encourage students, if your application shows that you're not income eligible, we ask that you confirm that. If you think that you would be income eligible, we ask that you go through, there's a form that you can fill out in financial aid services called an appeal for special circumstances. So if if your tax return documents for the FAFSA don't reflect your current status, that's an opportunity to do that. And then we will check your eligibility again after that appeal.
What if I had someone watch my child or children and I paid them, but I didn't have receipts? Like, for example, if someone had their sister watch their children, how do they get reimbursed for that?
Yeah, with some of the funding that GSS has, we are working on kind of figuring out a flat rate for that, so that those who need it and need to pay babysitters can get some money. So we are working on. We haven't decided yet on a cap, but there'll be an ad hoc committee through the Graduate Student Senate that will be working on that.
So for our purposes, you haven't passed the date yet where you've used CARE under this new FFN option and don't have a receipt. So because this FFN option is only in effect for us from 9/1 going forward, you know about it now, and you have an option to ask whoever's helping you with childcare to just document it in some way. And like I said before, we're still working out what that documentation should look like, but the basics should just be there: the name of the person, the amount that was paid, the date, and the date of care. And we're certainly not going to, sorry, I have a dog that can't stop barking. We're certainly not going to exclude anyone. We'll work with you to figure out the documentation. But there will have to be some documentation because we do get audited every year and we have to show that the funds were used for what we say they were used for. But we do have flexibility.
And for the FFN care, will the provider need to be an independent contractor?
No, we don't expect them to be independent contractors. This is considered informal care. So this is people in your support network who are helping you out. So yeah, no, we don't require that.
This question is not asked, but mainly for Mariam and Leslie, since you both have two things that are in the works. Is there a way for grad parents to give feedbacks or suggestions?
So if I get you correct, in terms of feedback, in terms of the graduate students right now or parents right now providing feedback to, yeah,
suggestions.
Yeah,
yeah.
They can email directly GSS and kind of just with questions or whatever concerns they have or feedback that they have for us. I think they can email us, or we have a Senate meeting coming up on the 31st, and I would urge those who are interested to come because those are some of the issues that we will be talking about.
Yeah, and so a few ways that parents can provide feedback. One, there are 3 union representatives on the board of trustees for the Health and Welfare Trust Fund. Those folks are Ani Sirkin, Anna Claire Steffen, and Jyoti Iyer. And I'll put their email addresses in the chat. You can also email me. My email address is in the chat. We love to hear from people. We don't get enough feedback, and it's really critical. So we love feedback. Give it to us. We based a lot of this on parent feedback by sending out 2 different surveys in the last few months to all the parents we've identified in our list. And that's how we got to this place, because we don't want to be providing something that's irrelevant to you right now. So that's how we got to OutSchool. That's how we got to FFN. That's how we got to the COVID parent subsidy, which I didn't mention before, but in spring 20 and summer 20, we tacked on an additional $150 per applicant that didn't have to be accounted for with receipts for costs that you might have incurred by turning your house into a daycare center or a school classroom. So all of that came from parents, and we definitely want to hear that feedback. There's also a notes section when you apply for childcare. You can definitely include feedback there as well.
Are there options this year for shared care or nanny shares with other grad student parents during COVID-19?
Yeah, not any that I know of, at least on my side.
We're working on trying to figure out how we can facilitate a listserv or a communications tool for student parents here at the university, so people can share that kind of information. We're having a little bit of it's not as easy as it sounds, but we're hopeful that sometime this fall we'll be able to launch a place where student parents can communicate with one another, advertise those kinds of needs or services, and collaborate on childcare, because I think that will be really useful. And it's probably a better use of funds and opportunities for kids and families to connect in ways that feel safe and supportive. So any progress that we make on that, we will communicate through GSS, through GEO, whatever channels will reach the most student parents.
This question was not asked in the chat box, but do you have any suggestions on what parents should apply to first? Because there's so many options.
So the 3 of us realized, Kara and Mariam and I, at some point, that we really needed to help point people in the right direction, because this information is all so confusing, and our organizations have different deadlines and different things that are eligible, and everything is different. So we've tried to streamline what we do and match each other as much as we can, but where those things diverge, we wanted to point them out to people. So we created this document. It's on our website. I'll put the link to it in the chat. But basically, it goes through and sort of helps you identify which program should you apply for. In terms of timing, correct me if I'm wrong, but Kara, you're sort of the first in terms of timing. Do you wanna explain that?
Yeah, so our child care subsidy applications opened at the very end of July, so they've just opened. So parents are applying now. We'll review it over the next couple of months, and we'll basically set our budget for the year. So people will know in the next month or so if they are accepted, and if so, how much of our funding will cover their child care needs. So at which point, a lot of folks, will then, so it doesn't preclude you then from applying to GSS and applying to GEO. So yes, my suggestion is always apply for the SPP funding first. You'll know before you would even be eligible to get reimbursement from GSS or GEO. And that we share, as Leslie mentioned, we share our information. So they will know if you received our funding or didn't receive our funding, so they can make their determinations based on that information.
I guess really right now you'll be applying both after you apply to student parent programs in late August, early September. You can apply both for GSS and the trust fund, but you'll know the answer from GSS first. and we'll be looking at the prior period. So we'll get back to you about the prior period, and that's sort of the flow of what will happen if you apply to all 3 groups. That wasn't very clear, I apologize, but hopefully you got the gist.
Someone asked, they submitted their app for CAMPS, Campus, but at the time, their son provider hadn't gone back to them about care, so they didn't put their information down. How do they update the provider's information?
So sorry, I didn't hear the first part of it. On the C-Campus, on the application for C-Campus funding, they didn't put the child care information into the application, and they're not able to go back in to update it. Is that right?
They're wondering, how do they go back and update it?
I think you can go back log back into the portal through Academic Works and update applications. But if you can't, just send me an email and I can add that to, I download all the information and put it into a spreadsheet. A lot of people, it's early. A lot of people don't even know if their schools or childcare providers will be open or if they'll have a spot. So we go through each application individually and really look at whether you meet income eligibility first and then see what your childcare needs are. So you could be accepted and still not know exactly how much funding you would need this year. We can approve you for a certain amount whether you use that or not, and then we adjust our budget accordingly. I will also say that while we do accept students right now, we have students who graduate mid-year. We may have openings. So even if you're not accepted for a student parent programs or C-Campus subsidy right now, we'll put you on our wait list. And if there's an opening, we'll reach out and let you know.
For those of you who are here, especially grad students, I would really request you to come to some of our meetings, because that's where your voices are heard, and that's where you can share whatever concerns that you have. And also we have a Senate elections coming up this fall, and that's a very important piece of graduate student representation. And so if you can vie for a Senate position in your department, it's important, because then you get to participate in issues of childcare, well-being of graduate students and whatnot. And I think it's really important representation for grad students.
I guess in relationship to that, as grad parents, you have very limited time. I will note that being a graduate student senator is very low commitment.
I just want to add that we talked about childcare today, but there are other benefits we offer that can cover your family, and I just want to put a plug in for that. So if you haven't already signed up for your Health and Welfare Trust Fund benefits, we do offer dental insurance for your family for $100 a year, which is extremely affordable given the cost of dental insurance on the market, and vision insurance for your family for free. And those are things you should definitely make use of and not let the deadline pass before you submit an application. So again, the website is uaw-umasstrustfund.org.
I'm going to add one last thing. In student parent programs this year, we are initiating a family grant. It's a grant to support non-child care related unexpected expenses. We recognize that the financial burdens on student parents during this time are especially challenging. So we will be releasing that more information about that through our student newsletter and on our website. We are getting ready to do that for our August newsletter. So if you can go to our website, click the link to be added to our email list, you'll be the first to hear about the grants and the requirements and the application process.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Just to let you know, this session was recorded, so it will be available to you if you want to review it or share with your other grad parents who were not able to make this session. Any other thing I'm missing, Leslie?
Nope, you're all good. Thank you so much.
All right, have a great day, everyone.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.